Look, I hate to be that guy, but we have to talk about fungi and marathon again. We just have. Now, that may not make sense to some of you guys who are new to the channel, but to people who have been watching for quite a while, they will know that we have brought up the possible fungal driven narrative that could exist in a new marathon game on many occasions. My trailer analysis that I put out last year spent probably a significant amount of time in relation to the total length of the video talking about that opening shot of the trailer where we see the runner stomp on that chanterelle style mushroom, leaving a cloud of green spores. And I won't get into analyzing that frame by frame as I have already done so. If you want to watch that, check that out here. But what I do want to say is that the more and more I look at marathon concept art and review the ARG and review the trailer in the Vidoc, the more connections I seem to find between this new game and the world of fungi, fungus, mycology, mushrooms, man. It's inevitable. And I want to just kind of combine everything that I've found so far and show it to you guys and just maybe speculate a little bit on what this could all mean. And listen, I only laugh because if you have ever known anybody in your life who has gotten into mushrooms or fungus or, like I said, the mycological world, you know that it can be kind of an all-encompassing personality trait. Once you kind of wander down the path of learning about fungal organisms, it kind of like opens up a whole other world of natural life that is endlessly compelling. Whether you're understanding how these large fungal networks exist as technically one living organism, or how they're the only organism that exists on every continent in the planet, their ability for spores to survive potentially in space, or in glaciers, or in volcanoes, or you're somebody who's obsessed with the psychedelic world and the kind of mystery around psilocybin and how it interacts with our brains, you will know, like I said, if you've ever met anybody who's gone down this path, how it can become kind of this theory of everything and how fungus and mushrooms tie in to every other thing about someone's personality or life. So I understand why it could be annoying to hear it again. But like I said, I think there is a lot of evidence indicating that fungus will play an important role in the upcoming game. So let's just look at a few of the things we found. Like I said earlier, the obvious forefront of this topic is going to be the opening shot of the trailer. The runner, steps on this mushroom and it creates this green cloud of spores. And just the fact that it's so prominent, it's the very first thing that we see about Tau Ceti. We've never actually, in the whole marathon series, seen what Tau Ceti looks like, what life on the colony was like, what the planet is like at all. And the very first thing we see of it is a mushroom growing in what seems to be like a man-made space, possibly growing through the cracks of the ground or in that puddle of water or something. I don't know, but it's the first thing that we see. This prominent placement could indicate a prominence within the narrative, which is also emboldened by the concept art that we got from the Vidoc, and specifically this image right here of this interior additional space on Tau Ceti that seems to have like mold growing on the floor, almost like what you would see like on a piece of bread, this kind of angelic white mold even, popping straight up from the ground. Now, back here on Earth, we all know that if you have a very moist, humid portion of your house or you have a water leak or something, mold can grow and cause a lot of damage on floorboards and wood and drywall, other materials that are a little more porous. But look at all of the surfaces in this image. They're ceramics, glasses, metals, and yet this fungus seems to be growing just fine, propagating and spreading throughout the entirety of the structure. Even some of the tendrils on the right side seem to be reaching towards the air, like possibly moving or poisonous. I don't know, but these fungi, these alien fungi, are possibly feeding on these very hard, non-porous surfaces. Perhaps they're made by some other alien or some other, race that has technologically advanced these organisms for war, or maybe it's just something natural to Tau Ceti that was, evolved to degrade these types of materials. But either way, it's alien and different and stands out so much, especially now going back and looking through these concept images. And we also have the knowledge that this would not be the first time that fungus could be, proposed as a potential antagonist or force in the marathon world. As Robert McLeese, the guy famous for creating the Flood, another, fungal inspired enemy from Halo, which obviously has a huge impact on the narrative there, had originally proposed a fungal element to the narrative of Marathon 2, where a fungus native to Lehuan, the Sphit homeworld, would infect and zombify 4, creating these fungal 4 enemies. So even the concept of a evil fungus or some sort of mushroom contaminating the world and having, some interaction with the narrative is not new to the Marathon universe. And with all the stuff that we've seen in the ARG, obviously tying into and expanding a lot of the concepts from the original games, I wouldn't be surprised if the return of some sort of fungal element to the Marathon's narrative in this new game popped up, especially considering Robert McLeese worked on the ARG. If you want to learn more about the Robert McLeese stuff, definitely check out this video where I kind of talk all about it and break down the concept art and stuff that we got in the original game. But it's definitely super cool, and I recommend checking it out just to see it at least. So all of this stuff had been kind of rocking around in my brain as I've been learning more about Marathon and making videos about it and doing all this stuff. And then obviously last year we saw the release of the Final Shape, the newest DLC kind of ending the 10-year Light and Dark saga in Destiny 2. And I just want to point out that so much of the imagery in the Final Shape, especially that opening mission where you're going into the Traveler, and I totally didn't get this wrong and say the Witness and have to re-record this part, seems so heavily inspired by Psychedelia. I mean, all of the kind of geometric imagery that's on display there and these kind of really weird and abstract design choices are very clear parallels to the psychedelic experience, which I would like to point out is something that's very prominent in Washington State, where Bungie is based out of currently. They have tons of old growth forests, which have like a ton of, fungal diversity and very old fungi that are not studied, and new ones are found every year. It also has a prominent culture, like I said, surrounding psychedelia, and prominent mycologist Paul Stamets. If you haven't learned about him, definitely check him out. He's very interesting. Spent his young adult life there and studied at Evergreen College in Olympia, Washington. So everything, seems to point at mushrooms. There's so much going into it. And obviously, from a narrative perspective, I think there is a huge crossover between rampancy and AI and these large organisms and the metaphysics that is explored in the original Marathon series. And like I said, the abstract nature of fungal life. So surely fungus is going to play some role, but how significant and is this tied to some sort of larger secret narrative? We do not know. But I just can't keep my mouth shut when I keep seeing and finding little things pointing at fungus being among us. Okay, don't kill me for saying that. I know it was lame, but I would love to hear your thoughts about mushrooms, fungi, and how they could potentially play in to the new Marathon narrative down below. Feel free to speculate with us on the Discord as well if you're on there. And thanks for listening, guys. Bye.